Tony, Major League Baseball, the commissioner's office, whoever hands down these suspensions, whoever hands down discipline, couldn't have been more gutless. They basically took the pitcher out for one game while saying Soler, who gets thrown at and thrown at twice. I don't care what Walt Weiss said. He threw at him. Anything else, to me, is garbage. So he threw at him twice, right? He owns him, like you said, 6 home runs off this dude. And Major League Baseball gives Soler 5 home runs. Gives Soler 7 games and gives the pitcher 1. That's a gutless move by Major League Baseball entirely.
Can I just, I'm just going to end this by saying what is not a gutless move, because you said this about Walt Weiss. 6'1", 175. Soler, 6'3", 235. Walt Weiss,
that was
62 years old.
That
was something. That was something. Let's take a break. Coming up, what is next for Giannis and the Bucks? We will ask Brian Windhorst.
Giannis, he's still in the league. We'll also ask him whether a curious play by the Kings last night warrants a fine from the NBA.
I found it interesting that I thought we have NBA questions for our great friend, ESPN senior NBA writer, Brian Windhorst. Let's start with this, Brian. What do you expect to happen in Milwaukee, specifically with Giannis and Doc Rivers?
Okay, let me say this in a way that will not get me in too much trouble. I would be surprised if Doc Rivers is the coach next year and Giannis is on the team. Now, how that all arranges itself and how everybody wants to protect themselves so they don't look bad, so they save face and all that stuff, because for some reason that is an issue with this Bucks franchise, I don't want to get too far out over my skis. But the way this season finished, and there's a big stat that's awfully important with the Bucks, and it's not that Giannis missed time with 5 different injuries this year. It's that they were 17-19 with Giannis on the court. This was not a winning team even when he was there. It is a flawed team, and the way to fix it, unfortunately, is to trade him. They're going to come to that understanding if they haven't already, and they're going to do something about it. And unfortunately, this season, the team did not respond to the way Doc Rivers coached them. I'm not pointing a finger at anybody. That's just the truth. And so I expect there to be a change in that regard.
Wow, it's a long way since that championship in 2021. Let's go to the place we have to go, Brian. Happily, Victor Wembanyama. Now, he's out tonight.
The Milwaukee Bucks have a problem. And it is not a small problem. It is not a maybe we will figure it out in the playoffs problem. It is a franchise-altering, superstar exiting, coach firing level problem. And Brian Windhorst just said what every Bucks fan has been afraid to hear out loud. He was asked on Pardon the Interruption about the future of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Doc Rivers in Milwaukee. And his answer was not just honest. It was devastating. He said, and I quote, "I would be surprised if Doc Rivers is the coach next year and Giannis is on the team." Let me read that again. I would be surprised if Doc Rivers is the coach next year and Giannis is on the team. Not one or the other. Both. Windhorst is saying that the Bucks are facing a reality where neither the coach nor the franchise player are in Milwaukee next season. And then he dropped the stat that should terrify every single person associated with the Bucks. He said the team was 17-19 with Giannis on the court this season. 17-19. That means the Bucks were not a winning team even when their 2-time MVP, their Finals MVP, their best player in franchise history was playing. That is not a bad stretch. That is not an injury excuse. That is a fundamentally broken roster. Windhorst said the team did not respond to the way Doc Rivers coached them. He said he is not pointing a finger at anybody. That is just the truth. And then he said the way to fix it, unfortunately, is to trade Gian. Think about that. The way to fix the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that won a championship in 2021, a team that has one of the top 5 players in the world, is to trade him. Because the roster is flawed. Because the coach lost the locker room. Because 17-19 with your superstar is not a fixable problem with a small trade or a new offensive system. That is a blow-it-up problem. Now let me add some context that Windhorst did not say but is obvious to anyone watching. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 29 years old. He is still in his prime. But he has missed significant time with 5 different injuries this season. That is not going to get better as he gets older. The Bucks have no draft picks. They have no cap space. They have aging role players on bad contracts. And they have a coach who, for all his regular season success, has a history of playoff collapses. The window is not closing. The window is slam shut. And Windhorst is saying the only way to open a new window is to trade Giannis and start over. That is a nuclear option. That is a franchise deciding that the dream is over. But here is the thing. Windhorst is not some hot take artist. He is not a guy who says things for attention. He is the most connected NBA reporter in the business. When he says something like this, he is not guessing. He is reporting what he is hearing from inside the league. And what he is hearing is that the Bucks themselves are coming to that understanding. They are realizing T17 and 19 with Giannis is not a fluke. It is a symptom. And the only cure is a trade that nobody in Milwaukee wants to talk about. So where does Giannis go? That is the next question. If the Bucks trade him, the return would be historic. Multiple first-round picks. Multiple young players. A complete franchise reset. And Giannis would have his choice of contenders. The Thunder have 1 million picks. The Knicks have been saving assets for years. The Heat always think they can get the superstar. The Warriors have been waiting for a second star next to Steph Curry. The list is long. And every single one of those teams would give up everything for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because he is still that guy. He is still a top 5 player. He is still a two-way force. But he cannot do it alone in Milwaukee anymore. And the numbers prove it. 17 and 19. That is not a championship team. That is not even a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. That is a lottery team with a superstar. And that is the saddest place to be in the NBA. Because you are not bad enough to get a high draft pick. And you are not good enough to win anything that matters. You are just stuck. And the only way out is to blow it up. So here is my question for you. Should the Bucks trade Giannis Antetokounmpo this summer? Or do they run it back one more time with Doc Rivers and hope for a miracle? Drop your take in the comments. Do you agree with Brian Windhorst? Or do you think he is overreacting to a bad season? And if you want more honest breakdowns of what is really happening in the NBA, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.